approximately 30% of adults in the workplace experience bullying. So when you sit in a room full of people, and if you've got 10, there are 3 of them who are experiencing some form of bullying. 41% of American adults have experienced some form of online harassment, with about 18% describing it as severe, including threats and sustained harassment.
Welcome back to Unapologetic Rabble-Rousers. I'm DocShellie.
And I'm Carla Lewis.
And I'm going to do the introduction today.
Please do.
Because usually you do it. So today we're going to talk about bullying. And Carla has been doing some Facebook Lives on her personal Facebook page, which I think is public, is it not?
It is.
Carla Lewis at
Just
facebook.com.
look me up.
Look her up, follow her. She's doing some cool stuff on her Facebook Lives talking about a variety of things, including bullying, which happened to come up on our last episode. So here in episode 42, we are going to talk about bullying, and we're going to talk about workplace bullying as well as bullying in social settings. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And the reason that we brought it up in the last episode was because of this notion that leaders get away with some really inappropriate behavior. And while bullying itself is not something that is just an isolated incident for leadership, it affects us both in business and in a social setting. It's an opportunity to really step back and take a look at what is this thing called bullying. We hear so much about it in terms of school kids on up into high school and now into college. We hear about workplace bullying, social setting bullying, and I'm talking about the faceless, the bullies that come out online and
the
social
keyboard
media.
Warriors on social media. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And the fact that bullying is a huge issue. We all see it. We probably have all been victim to it at least once in our lives, and who knows from whom. But I think this episode, and perhaps those that might follow this, because this is a big topic, that we take a look at what our experiences have been, what's behind it all, the impact of that, the opportunity for us to recognize it, maybe to come up with some tactics to be able to help intervene when we either are the victim or we're observing somebody else being the victim. And I'm going to add a third thing to that, and that would be if these behaviors are something that you are familiar with because you exact these things on other people, please understand there's something to be worried about there in terms of how you engage with others. So this is a very personal journey, this topic. And so we thought, why not?
Why not? And let's be honest, part of that reason is because I took us way off course on our last episode. Because I like to take Carla on a left turn. So where do you want to start the conversation?
One of the things that I have done in the lives has been to just, first off, let's take a look at what's the reality. It's all well and good for me to sit here and say, we've all seen it. We've all maybe been a target. We've all been in a position where we wanted to intervene and didn't know how. And so I've done some work in looking up the statistics, which we have in front of us here, and something that it's important enough to read it just to make sure that this is not misrepresented. So I would like to start by, let's take a look at how big a problem is this?
Yeah. What does the research say?
So I pulled some statistics, and the first thing I learned that I had no clue about before was that there is an institute, the Workplace Bullying Institute, that has been around for quite some time and has been taking a look at and researching things regarding this. And while it has become more of a topic lately, this is not a new issue. So I'm gonna start with the prevalence of workplace bullying. And this, again, is according to the research that's been going on and on and on with the Workplace Bullying Institute that says approximately 30% of adults in the workplace experience bullying. So when you sit in a room full of people, and I made this quote on my live as well, 1 in 3 of the people you are in the room with, if you've got 10, there are 3 of them who are experiencing some form of bullying. And if it's past, present, if not yet, it's in the future, because it happens. It happens a lot. And as leaders, as team members, as family members, as part of the football team, wherever it might be, you're going to look around and you're going to see people who you may not recognize as being bullied, but they're experiencing it. And that is a very quiet, lonely battle if you are the one that's been experiencing that.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
The next one that I want to bring up is the one that's impact on mental health. Okay, so this is from the American Journal of Psychiatry, and that they find that adults who experience bullying are at a higher risk for anxiety disorders, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. And this is saying that approximately 41% of bullying victims report symptoms of depression. I want to interject that in one of the sessions I did on Facebook Live, that there is a telecom company in France that the leader had created such a toxic atmosphere, such a toxic environment, that many, even one is too many, people committed suicide. Mm. And that leader was ultimately found guilty of having created an environment that was that awful that people were taking their own lives.
Wow.
I mean, how does something like that get let go?
Right.
Okay. Shall I continue on here?
Sure.
Economic impact. Economic impact. Now, so how does bullying come down to the bottom line? Bullying-related absenteeism, turnover, decreased productivity. They're costing that at billions, with a B, billions of dollars annually lost.
Yeah, I would imagine, just thinking about the times that I've been bullied in the workplace and how that impacts my desire to show up every day. I can totally relate to that. When you first shared that statistic with me, I was like, that seems like a lot. But then as I thought about it, I thought, yeah, and just based on my own personal experience with it, I don't want to show up to work. I don't want to do my best for these people. I have a high level of integrity to show up and do my best because that's who I am. But boy, showing up on for those people that I would have never hired you if if I had known you had tattoos. And just It went on and on and on. And every chance this person had to throw me out there with that comment, I was like, at one point, I actually said to her, "You're bullying me. You need to stop. Stop it. There's no reason. I heard you the first 25 times you said it." And so did thousands of other people at this point. Yeah. You said it in front of enough people. And other people started to say things to me. Boy, I really wish you'd stop saying that. Yeah, I do too.
And could I use that just as a jumping off point for the fact that we observe these things?
Yes.
And what happens? They come to you and say, "I wish she would stop doing that." What the hell good is that going to do?
Yeah. I don't think anybody said anything to her about it. A lot of people had comments to me about it. They all talked about it with each other. But I don't think anyone said anything to her about it.
I think we need to take a look at that whole notion of, okay, what is it that holds us back as observers of that kind of behavior?
Yeah. In that particular instance, I was told, "Oh, she doesn't mean anything by it. That's just who she is." I'm like, I understand that. And like, The first time she said it, okay, not cool, but it's fine. The second time she said it, knock it off. The 30th time, this is a problem. If you really didn't want to hire me, then you should probably fire me. Like, if my tattoos on my foot are that big of a problem for you, then let me go.
I think that we need to spend some time in this, what I think is going to turn into several episodes, spend some time on what's behind the fact that people who observe this kind of activity don't feel comfortable approaching the person who is the perpetrator to say, that's inappropriate. So I would like to move on to cyberbullying.
That's a good one.
Well, it's a bad one, truly, because among adults, this is based on a Pew Research survey. No, yeah.
Sorry.
PEW.
I couldn't help myself.
I know, sometimes. The survey revealed that 41% of American adults, I'll just qualify that, have experienced some form of online harassment, with about 18% describing it as severe, including threats and sustained harassment.
I'm actually surprised that's not higher.
I had the distinct experience, there wasn't anything honorable about it, where a member of a team I was leading who was in Japan somehow got on the wrong side of somebody. And this somebody went to an internet cafe. So now we got the IP is going to be like generic and whatever, and fired off horrible messages, social media messages and emails from this IP that absolutely tore this woman and her family apart. Just ripped them to shreds. Now, here is a woman in Japan who is doing a fine job. She has a good job. It's a technical job. She's been very successful in doing the work, and somebody didn't like that. And being able to, this was a couple of decades back, so the opportunity for us to be able to really hone in on what was going on and how to be able to stop that, especially from an internet cafe where what are you going to trace? How do you do it? She was devastated. And ultimately left the company.
For sure, yeah.
Because there wasn't anything that we could do to be able to stop this. We could combat it in terms of information and going back to people who may have received this message and all that, but there was just this, it was like this shotgun blast that ruined her interest in being a part of this particular team anymore. I've never stopped feeling clenched in my gut about that because it was unconscionable.
Yeah, the cyberbullying is interesting, especially these days. There's so many, what I just refer to as keyboard warriors, and they have nothing better to do but sit around and try to make people's lives miserable. There's a woman that's a professor. I want to say she's a professor at New York State University, but that might not be true. She might be at Georgetown. I follow her. And she just posted the other day about a woman who kind of cyberbullies her. Every time she posts something, this woman comes on and attacks her every single time. And she's blocked her. This woman creates new accounts, and she comes back and just bullies and bullies and bullies. And it's been fascinating to watch. And this woman that I follow just posted a thing the other day that she's just not been really paying attention to her, and thought, wow, I've been posting a lot of things in the last month and this person hasn't commented. So I want to find out what's going on. So she went to search for this woman and found out that she's passed away. And she thought, she had like really mixed reactions to it, and thought, you know what? Thank God this person can't do this to me or anyone else anymore. And none of this has power anymore for me. that person lived a life of such negativity. And it was fascinating to just hear and read her thoughts on how this bully passing away had just shifted the power that she'd let her have. It was really fascinating. But even on our podcast, and like I post on TikTok and Instagram, I've had people that have said, girl, heal your trauma. You shouldn't do this podcast anymore. You have issues. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure, whatever.
We observe these things.
Yes.
And what happens? They come to you and say, I wish she would stop doing that. What the hell good is that going to do? To be continued.